is said to let out a terrible human-like scream and emits a nauseating stench so strong that it renders hunters unconscious.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Drip Podcast. It's me and Scott. This is episode 3 of the cryptid midweek specials. Last week, we had a very fun one on a lot of vampires in Romania and a wolfman and an ogre-type creature. So, if I remember correctly, we said we'd be going to Brazil.
We did.
Okay.
So, I don't know if when I started planning these, I was doing what I'm now doing, which is going continental.
Right, okay.
I'm kind of going continent by continent.
Cool.
So, obviously, we started in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
We've done Europe.
Yeah.
We're now in South America.
Okay.
So that then leaves us with a few more continents to look through.
Cool. I like it a lot. So this is much like what was the first? It was Zimbabwe, wasn't it? Much like Zimbabwe. I can't say off the top of my head I know a single Brazilian cryptid.
No, I also didn't going into this. And there have been a few countries that I've kind of not found enough to make a full episode from. But Brazil is like there's a lot. There's a lot of just interesting stuff in Brazil. Enough that I could do a part 2 on Brazil.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. Well, if you'd like to see that, hit the like button. So we have a lot on Brazil. Well, I'm sure you've just like cherry picked a few, but
yeah, I've picked a few of the interesting ones. I think we can have interesting discussions about.
Okay, interesting. It's not going to be, hey, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it's not going to be a case of like, oh, do you know what? They actually have a Sasquatch as well.
No, there's a couple of things in. I can't remember if it's this one or another one where it's like this is just a thing that is somewhere else, and they've given it a fancy name.
Right. Okay.
This one's got a slight variation of its skin color to kind of blend in, but no, there's a few kind of unique ones here.
Awesome. Okay, interesting. Let's jump into it then. So, what do we start with in Brazil?
So, Brazil, we're going to start off with the mapinguari.
Oh, the mapinguari.
The mapinguari is apparently one of the most well-known cryptids in Brazil. It's a monstrous creature that is said to inhabit the dense Amazon rainforest, which, obviously, when you think of the size of the Amazon rainforest, is bound to have some stuff in it.
Yeah, that we haven't identified yet.
If they're going to be anywhere.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Probably where they'd be.
Places like that, for sure. So, we've got the Amazon rainforest, which, of course, deforestation.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day we're losing more and more of the Amazon. Hashtag save the Amazon. And save the... Sorry, the name has gone already.
The mapinguari.
The mapinguari.
Thankfully, I have it in bold at the top of my screen because I would not have remembered that.
Yeah, that literally slipped out of my mind instantaneously. I think it's because it is a very cool name. But obviously, when you were saying about the rainforest and how there can be stuff in there and stuff, I don't know why my mind went to the platypus. The platypus is just that creature that was a cryptid, and then they were like, no, that is the guy that saw it and drew it wasn't making it up.
The guy that drew
with a fucking duck bill.
A beaver duck.
Yeah.
And then they found a beaver duck.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe the mapinguari could be similar.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it anyway? I don't even know what it is at this point. You're now about to tell me it's a fucking dragon or something.
Descriptions of the mapinguari vary, but it's most commonly portrayed as a giant, foul-smelling beast covered in thick red or black fur with backward-facing feet to confuse trackers.
How the fuck does it walk?
I don't know.
So it basically walks backwards, but that is forwards.
Yeah, so obviously its tracks are going the opposite way to its movement, which is a great survival. Obviously, if its feet are on backwards.
Yeah.
It looks like it's walking the opposite direction.
So I guess that's okay if you find the tracks mid-track. But if you find the origin of the tracks, you will actually find where it is because that is actually where it's up to.
Yeah, I'm going with yes. I'm going with
backwards,
yes.
Yeah. So,
which is a great, evolutionary survival.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Kind of thing. Because if something, like you say, if a wolf's following its tracks to try
it's going the complete wrong way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some tales describe it as having a single eye and a huge gaping mouth in its abdomen.
Oh,
It's just not where you were expecting that sentence to go, was it?
No.
I wrote the sentence and it threw me off.
Nice. So it's like a cyclops with a stomach mouth.
Others have suggested that it's a relic species of a bygone age, such as a surviving giant ground sloth, also known as a megatherium.
Nice.
That's thought to have gone extinct thousands of years ago, but may have survived deep in the rainforest.
Okay, interesting.
So, I mean, possible.
That I just don't understand a world where it would evolve to have a mouth in its stomach area. I mean, it would shortcut the digestive element, I guess.
Yeah, I guess in terms of just eating something right away, that's
just
a quick...
goes straight into the stomach.
Yeah.
Slows down the process.
So the mapping guari
speeds up. Yeah, go on.
Is said to let out a terrible human-like scream.
Nice.
And emits a nauseating stench so strong that it renders hunters unconscious.
Wow.
So this thing is designed for throwing off hunters and kind of trackers.
Yeah. Hunters and trackers, yes, but predators, no, because obviously if it has quite a... Well, unless the foul stench puts off the potential predator.
And yeah, maybe not.
It won't make it hard to find for a predator with acute sense of smell.
No, I guess, yeah, your only hope then is that when that thing gets to it,
it's just going to be like,
it becomes unconscious.
That stinks.
It goes the wrong way at first and then is knocked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Indigenous communities of Brazil, especially the Caratana and the Apunia people, have long told stories of encounters with this creature. And as recently as the 20th century, rubber tappers and hunters reported seeing large bipedal animals deep in the Amazon.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, that's quite cool.
Some eyewitnesses.
Cryptozoologists have occasionally ventured deep into the jungle in search of it, noting unexpected tracks and broken vegetation, though no definitive evidence of it has yet emerged.
Okay.
So that is the Mapinguari. What are your
Interesting.
thoughts?
I love the backwards feet. Big fan of that. The fact it could be a cyclops, that's scary. It's
got one big eye and possibly a mouth in its stomach.
Yeah. Does that mean like its whole face is just an eye?
Yeah, because is its mouth... I guess, yeah, the one mouth in the stomach. Yeah.
Unless it has like an eye and a nose and then the mouth is on the stomach. But
I can't picture this creature.
No, neither can I. So it's got black or red fur, and it stinks.
Thick red or black fur, stinks, and has backwards feet.
Okay, so it's like okay,
and is like 10 plus foot, I think, based on
Jesus.
descriptions.
Oh wow, okay. So that's obviously where the comparison to the giant sloth came from.
Yeah, it very much sounds like a giant from a lot of cultures to some extent. With the one, a lot of giants tend to have one big eye. That seems to be kind of a thing throughout mythology.
Okay, interesting. I like it a lot. It's very different to anything we've had so far in this series, so that's always a positive.
So another striking figure in Brazilian cryptids is the boitata. Boitata.
Boitata.
I think it's boitata.
What is a boitata?
It's a fiery, snake-like creature that roams the night to punish those who harm nature, particularly those who set forests on fire.
Would it not set the forest on fire itself if it is a fiery snake?
You would think so.
Okay.
The name comes from the Tupi-Guarani words mboi and tata, which means snake and fire, respectively.
Okay.
It's often depicted as a giant serpent with burning eyes or an entirely flaming body. It may also appear as a floating orb of fire.
Okay. I mean, look, the concept, I'm fucking with it. I get it. It's cool. But I'm just thinking, like, this thing is, if it's just going through the Amazon, it's going to set some fires.
Yeah, it's going to be hunting itself.
Yeah. It's going to be like, oh my God, what have I done? My whole purpose is to destroy people that harm and set fire to the rainforest.
And here I am, ablaze.
Here I am. I'm actually worse than any of these people.
Chasing someone that lit a tree on fire has set the entire forest on fire.
Yeah, it's like I am a monster.
Now, it should be worth noting that the sightings are especially common in the wetlands of southern Brazil.
Right.
So maybe it's gone to an area where the trees aren't flammable.
Right, yeah. But then it's in an area where it's like, oh, well, no one can set fire to anything. So what the fuck am I doing here?
Some believe that the phenomenon is related to natural gases released by decaying vegetation. And that the things... So it's been compared to the will-o'-the-wisp.
Right, okay.
Which is kind of like an orb of light seen in woods and in forests and kind of seen moving through swamps and things like that.
Okay.
And a lot of the times people think that's just swamp gas that has combusted for some reason. It's hit oxygen, it's caught flame, and it's kind of burnt a bit.
Oh my God.
Which is apparently a thing.
Oh, will-o'-wisp.
Hmm.
Okay, because I've got two different things in my head, both from gaming. So, World of Warcraft, if you're a night elf, when you die, you become a wisp, which is just like your soul is like a sort of blue orb floating around, and it just makes you run 50% faster to your corpse to revive. So that's one thing. And then also in Pokemon, there is a fire move called Will-O-Wisp, which will burn your enemy. So, right. But I didn't know that there was any,
I think they are
real life equivalent.
A semi-legitimate thing. But I don't know for sure. Hang on, see if I can look it up.
So is this thought to be a cryptid in itself?
What, the will-o'-wisp?
Will-o'-wisp. And this thing might be one as well.
So it's an atmospheric ghost light seen by travellers as a will-o'-wisp, often seen over bogs, swamps and marshes. It's known in the United Kingdom, which is its most prevalent location, as a hinky punk.
For fuck's sake.
Because obviously, why would we not? The Friar's Lantern or the Jack-o'-lantern.
Okay, interesting.
And it's basically the kind of scientific explanation for them in a lot of cases seems to be when a lot of different kind of swamp gases mix and, organic decay mixes with the air, it combusts.
Okay.
And obviously it's the burning lights of that people see that they then attribute to this.
Right, okay. So basically that's a scientific explanation for a potential phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
And people also believe that this creature we're talking about right now could potentially be this phenomena that science has deemed natural gases combusting.
So this is where this creature appears to some people as floating orbs of fire, which they think could be that.
Right.
To other people, it appears as a giant flaming snake, which I think is probably less likely to be that.
Right. Yeah. They're the ones that have hit the ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I like it. What was the name of this creature again?
This is the boitata.
Boitata.
Boitate, one of those.
The flaming snake. That's
and
fucking cool.
So in folklore of Brazil, the boitata is a vengeful protector, blinding or burning those it deems a threat. Jesus. Reports of glowing lights in the wood, especially after forest fires or during misty nights, continue to fuel belief.
I like it. I like its reasoning. I like the irony that, its sole purpose.
Yeah.
It is also definitely committing the same atrocity by accident. Yeah, by accident. But hey, you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
But it's a mythological arsonist or a cryptozoological arsonist.
There you go.
So that's number 2. Quite like that one.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool.
This one,
what we got,
intrigues me slightly because this is the kurupira.
Kurupira.
Now, parts of this may sound familiar to you.
But
not all of it. So the kurupira is a small humanoid being with flaming red hair and its feet turned backwards.
Oh, fucking right. So Brazil have got something about turning their feet backwards.
While it might sound comical, the kurupira is a deeply respected and feared guardian of the forest who uses his backwards feet to lead hunters and poachers astray.
Okay.
So that bit is almost word for word the same from my research.
Right. This is a ginger version.
Yeah. To the extent I actually had to fact check this wasn't the same creature when I was writing this, because I kind of went, this feels very familiar. And when I wrote about this 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
But this one's like a small humanoid being, whereas the other one was a fuck off giant.
Right.
Which, is interesting.
A guardian of the forest.
It's just that weird to me that the feet thing seems to be a common theme.
Yeah.
It's said to whistle in a way that disorients humans and can lure them deeper into the jungle until they're hopelessly lost.
Okay.
Sightings of maybe, it lures it into the jungle. Yeah, essentially. Sightings of the kurupira, particularly by rural villagers and forest workers, are often reported in the Atlantic forest and Amazon regions of Brazil. And in modern times, some people still leave offerings and avoid certain trees out of respect for him.
Nice.
The fact they say him makes me think that they may think there's one.
Yeah.
Like there is one.
It's like a demigod or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking cool. Protector of the forest.
So yeah, I quite like that one. But again, like I say, there's kind of that matched theme of the backwards feet thing, which is just a really...
Very niche. Yeah. Fucking hell. Like, what?
Yeah, I just... Like, for two things to be reported.
So weird and so odd that it's true.
Is it so weird, or is it so weird someone they've gone, I quite like that, I'm going to use that again?
Yeah, also that. But then you would think, surely these backwards footprints will be a lot smaller than a 10-foot creature's backwards footprints.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've also got the point that if everything in the forest is walking with its feet backwards, everything's essentially walking forwards, because you kind of, at that point, figure out where you're going.
Yeah, you just go backwards.
Yeah, if you just go backwards on everything and you'll get there.
Yeah.
So that is the third one.
Okay.
Third one? Yeah, third one. Next up we have the bicho papao.
Bicho papao.
I'm going to spell this one out because I want to make sure that is how you say that.
Yeah.
B-I-C-H-O.
B-I-C-H, yeah.
Hyphen. P-A-P-A-O.
Yeah, I'll probably say the Bicho papao.
Bicho papao. Sometimes translated directly as the boogeyman.
Oh, nice.
Quite classic.
In many cultures, the boogeyman.
Though more of a mythical threat to misbehaving children than a cryptid in the traditional sense, which I think boogeymen often are.
Yeah.
It's said to live in the dark, shadowy places like closets, forests, and under your bed.
Okay.
Which, again, very kind of standard.
Yeah, this is definitely generic. One of those ones where it's like, this is to get the kids to behave themselves. I think that's what we... but hey, maybe with all these things, they originate in truth.
Yeah, so
maybe they were like, look, Sally's kid got absolutely poleaxed into a wall by this creature, so you need to watch out.
You need to do as you're told.
You need to go to bed. Otherwise, it's going to come out of your fucking cupboard and it's going to throw you against the wall.
And yeah, because this is literally translated as kind of a boogeyman, it doesn't have a direct description.
Right.
Some regional variants of it portray it as a hairy monster with glowing eyes.
Okay.
Which is a common theme with all the ones we've had so far, to some extent or another.
Yeah.
It is said to, in some portrayals, hide in rural and mountainous areas and wait for people to wander past and kind of pinch them off the tracks.
Nice.
Off the path. It will just grab them and drag them into the forest.
Thank you.
What it then does with them, nobody seems to know, just that it might take you if you're wandering kind of off the beaten path.
Right.
And it's often seen as not being a physical thing that people see, but its influence is psychological, passed down from generation to generation to scare children into obedience, but also kind of being a spiritual presence that may kind of take you without physically being there.
Right, let me wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
So it is just a story.
Well, there seem to be two possibly three sort of trains of thought on it. One is that it is a physical thing that exists that is snatching people off kind of paths and things. One, that it's something that just passed down from stories from parent to children, kind of,
keep them in line.
Yeah. And the third one is that it's kind of a spiritual entity, almost, I guess, akin to some of the vampires we had in Romania,
right?
Where it's more of a entity than being a direct creature.
Right. Okay. Right. Interesting.
And yeah, it's
a bit like Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, essentially, like you will it into existence.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And that's that one. That one was one of the less interesting ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just a boogeyman. Isn't it?
Yeah, I just thought it was quite cool to show that kind of boogeymen float around everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's the question you got to ask yourself. Like, if these sort of things, if they've been spoken about for thousands of years across cultures, I'm not saying the boogeyman has, but just, then there's got to be some sort of origin based in fact.
Yeah, I think we may have said it in the last episode. It's like how every culture has its own version of a dragon.
Yeah. How the fuck?
Before they could talk to other cultures.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've got one more for Brazil.
Okay.
Which is the capy lobo.
Capy lobo. Sounds like you got a capy lobo downstairs, Scott.
That's not my dog. I don't know whose dog that is.
Oh, it's not your dog?
No. I think it's the neighbour's dog. I think they've left it outside.
Oh, right.
So the capy lobo,
yeah,
which is another Amazonian cryptid from the Amazonian interior.
Okay, so inside the Amazon.
I guess so, yeah.
Right.
It's a lesser-known cryptid.
Yeah.
And is described as a beast with the body of a man and the head of an anteater or tapir.
Wow, okay.
It's said to be nocturnal and to feed on blood.
Nice.
Ripping open the throats of animals and sometimes humans. Stories suggest that it targets those who wander alone at night and that it may be linked to legends of shapeshifters or cursed shamans.
Jesus Christ.
While sightings are rare and almost anecdotal, or mostly anecdotal, unexplained animal killings and strange tracks in the forest continue to be attributed to the capy lobo in some regions.
Wow, holy shit. That's a hell of a description of a creature.
Yeah.
And an MO.
Yeah, the body of a man. I almost think the body of a man makes it worse.
Yeah, and the head of a fucking anteater.
Like, because I'm just picturing a fully grown, 6'5" dude running at me in the forest with the head of an anteater.
Do you know what this sounds a little bit like?
Mm.
Do you like Pokemon? Do you know the Pokemon Hypno?
Yeah. Yeah.
The evolution of Drowsy. This is what I'm picturing. It's a
now you've said it.
It's just a Hypno running around out there, just fucking people up.
Just like draining blood from people.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
But yes, because obviously an anteater's, like you say, kind of got almost a snout that it uses for digging into things. So imagine that, instead of digging into an anthole, an ant nest, digging into your abdomen or someone's throat.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
And kind of just, yeah.
That's horrifying.
Just picturing that is quite...
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah. And yeah, so
that's
that...
not what you want.
No, that is Brazil. That is the ones I've got here for Brazil today.
Tell you what, I'm not going anywhere near fucking Brazil anytime soon.
Which of those would be your kind of preference?
To fight?
Yeah, one-on-one.
If I had to fight one of them... Oh. I mean, you'd probably say like the dude with the backwards feet with the red hair, but then he could potentially, he's like a fucking demigod protector.
The small one,
the realm.
Yeah,
yeah. Not the big one. I mean,
you could take your chances.
The fire snake.
You could take your chances with the bogeyman.
Yeah, fuck it.
And hope that he's just like a story that was passed down. You run into the forest ready to fight, just really hoping that it was actually just a story and he doesn't turn up.
It's just a letter that says, "Oh, it's made up, so you've chosen right. Congratulations." Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I thought some of those were quite interesting.
Yeah,
they got some kind of
great.
unique.
Yeah.
A couple of unique ones in there, like the anteater man.
Yeah, definitely.
You tend to hear that kind of common trope of it's a person, it's a man with the head of a insect animal here.
Owl.
Yeah, owl. You get pigmen. Obviously, werewolves hit that description sometimes. Yeah, anteater men and tapir men just
Yeah.
weren't. They're not in my top 50 of animals I'd have picked first.
No, to combine with a human. That's
Yeah.
awesome. No, hey, Brazil, you've got some spooky cryptids there. Guys, if you would like us to do a specific area, let us know down in the comments, please. I'm sure Scott will be keeping an eye just to see if there's any suggestions. But yeah, Scott, thank you. Smash the ones again. This has been fun. Brazil, spooky place by the sounds. Well, the Amazon for sure. I mean, the fact that don't they discover species in the Amazon all the time?
Yeah, you regularly hear of like new species because didn't they find one recently named after David Attenborough?
I think so. Yeah,
it's like they're still finding things in there, so there's got to be something in there that's like more significant.
Yeah, than a new spider. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate it. If you want to support the pod and the investigations, patreon.com/Duty Rhino. You can also grab yourself ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN.com/Duty Rhino. You can get, if you buy the 2-year package, you get 4 months for free. Or you can just get any. So you can just sign up month by month, protect yourself. And what I use ExpressVPN for is finding new movies. I plonk myself in America, turn on Netflix, and it's like, oh, this is different. Let's have a little look through these. So that's what I use it for. And also, it protects you, which is awesome. Right. Cool. Awesome. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're on Spotify, give us 5 stars. We appreciate it. And we will see you we'll see you next Monday for a regular episode. And we will see you next Wednesday for another cryptid episode. See you later, everyone.